I can delete this part out. Okay. Hi guys. It's Tuesday, which means that it's my day, Rebecca's day, here on the 7 days of the week. So the theme this week is basically where we come from and our past. Now, I've kind of prepared myself for this to be a lengthy video because I come from such a diverse family and I have so many different sides of my family. You know, that's kind of the definition of diverse, that I would like to tell all of them. And so it might be a little bit long. And then the culture and religion and all of that stuff. So let's start out with, I have a mom and a dad. Let's start out from how I was born and when I was born. So you have my mom, my dad. When I was 6 years old, they divorced. They went bye. And so me and my sister, my little sister and my mom, moved in to my grandma's house. And we lived there for, I want to say, 5 years, until my sister and I moved into a trailer. And then once we moved from the trailer, we moved to the current house we live in right now, or that they live in now. Because now I live with my dad, but that's complicated. That's not what I want to talk about. The point is, I have 3 different families because my dad remarried, and he married my stepmom, Jerry. I don't call her stepmom, I call her Jerry. So yeah. So first I'll talk about my dad's side because it's kind of the most chill, kind of calm, tame side. So on my dad's side, that side of the family, there's Southern Baptist. So I know we have several Texans in the collab channel. I'm sure the other people know what Southern Baptists are. So that's what my dad grew up as, and that's how I grew up, kind of, not really. I grew up going to a Southern Baptist church every Wednesday until I was in the, I want to say, 8th grade. 8th grade's when everything changed. So I went every Wednesday to that church. And that side of the family, because you have my dad, my aunt, and my grandparents, and there's a whole extended family, but I don't really count them because they're so far off. They don't know anything about me. But that side's pretty chill. Like, they're okay. They're godly without being my mom's side. So let's get to that. So let's jump from my dad to his wife, my stepmom. Her side, my stepfamily, is absolutely nothing like the rest of my family. That family is very, very loud, but not in the way my mom's family's loud. They don't go to church. They don't watch their language, which I don't mind. They don't have week-long family reunions, which I'll get to. They don't have, they're very non-judgmental people, but they live all the way up in Illinois, which sucks because I never get to see them except for like once a year. Not even. I saw them for the first time in like 6 years, New Year's Eve, and then New Year's, and then I saw them again for family reunion, but twice, woohoo. Anyways, so that side's really chill too. Literally, you could tell them anything, they'll be like, well, as long as you're happy, they don't care. Which I personally love. I love that mentality. Unless it's like, murder, serial killer, rapist, that kind of stuff. But then we get to what I consider my real root. Because this is the family that had the biggest impact on who I was, on who I am, on who I became, on the reasons that I was so scared to be myself, or the reason that I was so scared to tell people about my sexual orientation, the reason that I hated my sexual orientation, the reason that I was homophobic until I was 14 years old. So my mom's side of the family is very, very, very religious. I don't want to say, I guess you say they're strictly Christian, but there's so many different denominations. It's hard to keep up because on one hand you have both of my grandparents who grew up Pentecostal. And if anyone knows anything about the Pentecostal religion, it's the people who you stereotypically it's the girls who they only wear skirts, and they're usually denim. They only wear skirts. They don't cut their hair. They don't wear makeup because it's against their religion. They believe in speaking in tongues, which I'll get to. And if you haven't experienced the speaking in tongues, I'll link a video. So yes, because both my grandparents grew up Pentecostal, but neither one of them stayed Pentecostal, they still remained very religious, both my grandparents. They didn't convert to just, I guess, Protestant or non-denominational, I don't know. They didn't unconvert from Pentecostal until my mom was born, or until my mom was, I guess, little. So they're really, really strict. And then they still have siblings who do they go all out with the skirts and the hair and the no makeup and the speaking in tongues. But that whole side of the family still believes in that part of it. My family, you know how in the olden days there were two things that you were not to bring up, like in a carriage. Like if you were to ride a carriage into town with somebody, there were two topics you didn't bring up: politics and religion. Those two topics are the center of the majority of the conversation inside of my family. There are a few of us, mostly the third generation, the younger people. We don't really identify with the same beliefs that the older people do, and my mom and my aunt and all them. So we just kind of try to stay out of all of that talk. But my sister has a big mouth, and whatever. This is gonna be so long. I'm sorry. Okay, but also family is really important in that group because my grandma has 8 brothers and sisters. There was 9 of them total, so it was a huge family, and they all had kids. I think they all had kids. 2 of them died when they were younger, but all the ones who didn't, they all had offspring. They all reproduced. And as a result, my family, every year, every June, probably like June 6th, June 7th, we get together for a family reunion. And our family reunions are nothing like your family reunions. I promise. You have not lived until you have gone to a long /Stroshine /Fry whatever the hell everyone else's names are, family reunion. They're a week long. Yes, a week. They're a week long. And it's not like we see each other like, oh, come over for a few hours. No. Usually they're in Texas at my grandma's house. All the girls will come spend the night with my mom because she's 2 streets over, and all the boys will go spend the night with my uncle, and then the rest of the people, some people will spend the night in their RVs with my grandma, and I don't know. So it's literally an all day for a week type thing. And one night a week, usually it's the Sunday, because reunion usually starts on a Friday or Thursday. That Sunday, we'll have our annual sing-along. Our annual sing-along it starts out as harmless hymn singing, like Marching to Zion and Amazing Grace and How Great Thou Art, and just normal hymns that you would sing at a traditional service. But usually by the end of the night, it turns into an anointing type exorcism. I don't want to say exorcism because they're not casting demons out of you, but it turns weird. Usually there's someone in my family at the time who's struggling with something. One particular year, my best friends at the time came, and they got to witness it, and neither one of them grew up in religious families. So that was kind of a culture shock, because my aunt decided that she was going to anoint and pray over all of the young adults. So all the people who were my age and younger, because I'm the second oldest. And the old one who's older than me is only older by a couple months. So she starts speaking in tongues, and if you haven't heard speaking in tongues, it's when supposedly the Holy Ghost or the Holy Spirit fills you up and you're speaking like the word of, it's like a different language, and it's your own language to connect with God, and I don't know. But it can be like, like I used to think I could do it. Yeah, sounds, some people, everyone's is different. It's all psychological, at least I think it is. So she starts praying, and then she starts crying, and then she starts shaking, and she's like, God, protect these children from sex and drugs and alcohol. And little does she know the girl that she anointed and prayed over sex is now pregnant. But, and it was just this like big thing, and everyone's crying, and everyone's like shaking and screaming out to God. And I'm just sitting there like, when do we eat the food? Because I, at the time, didn't believe in God. I still don't. So let's talk about that part. Because I come from such a overbearing and over religious family, I don't just come from a family that goes to church every Sunday and has the occasional prayer at dinner. It's so extreme. I was taught that homosexuality was wrong, and I believed it. I believed it for good. I don't know. I remember preaching against it on Facebook one time. I was arguing with this girl over it. I'm just like, well, they're both against my religion, so I don't agree with them. I had no rationality at all, and I wish I could apologize to her now. I remember being at school, I would argue against it. I remember calling this kid an it, because he was a guy, but he had long hair. He looked more feminine, I guess, and I called him an it. And it was this big funny joke in my group of friends, and I, at the time, didn't realize it was so wrong. But subconsciously, the topic of homosexuality always fascinated me. Like, one time, I grew up as I was a choir kid, you know, and I went on lots of choir tours. One tour we went into this church to perform, and we had performed there before, like, not me, but like the choir had performed there before. And so my director was good friends with the pastor. It was all good and dandy, and then they get up to preach, and it's gay day. It's like, and it still fascinates me because it was a whole sermon on how okay it is to be gay and how God will still love you. And everyone else, he was telling all the kids, just go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. My stepmom was with me, and she was telling us all to go to sleep, and I paid attention to every single word. And I don't know why, because I didn't know why at the time, but subconsciously, I've always known that I was gay. I just had that little, God, it's against it, it's a sin, blocking me. So, in 8th grade, I began having a lot of personal issues. And I started to question the existence of a God. And therefore, questioning the existence of all the stupid rules that I had been taught and all these idiotic things that I was told was wrong. And I began to form my own opinions. And it was then when I started opening my eyes and realizing that, gay is okay. But once that barrier was gone, it was like, why have I made such a big deal out of my uncle being gay? Or out of all these people who are just loving their people, But I think deep down I was still secretly homophobic, because when I figured out that I was, bisexual, when I finally figured out that I was in love with my best friend, I hated myself. I truly, truly hated myself for it. And as if I didn't have enough reason to want to hurt myself, it just gave me another one. And I did. But looking back now, there are so many times in my childhood when I had the exact thing that was going on in 8th grade. I was just so oblivious to it because I had the block I had the parent or the parent cloud above me blocking my view, like the dark, what I was always told, what I've always known. And so I never thought anything of it. And I look back now, I'm just like, wow, I was really gay. So I guess the fact that I come and that I've from such an extreme type of family, don't get me wrong, they're all beautiful people. They're wonderful people. They mean well, they have good hearts. Their views are just, it's, like I said, it's all they've known. And I feel like nowadays, I have some online friends that live up north, or they live somewhere where it's never been an issue. whenever someone uses, or the excuse that I live this place, it's all I've known, they find it, they don't believe, they just like brush it off. They're like, okay, well, it's still wrong. You should have known it was wrong. You should have, you should have known this was a bad thing. You should have known not to say that. But when you grow up and this is all you know is negativity, and all you know is that this thing was wrong and you didn't know why. It was just one thing. There was no question. It's difficult to just automatically change and your views overnight, Which is why I don't give people a hard time for, the people that I know that are both Christian and happen to fall under the stereotype of also being homophobic. I don't give them a hard time because, for all I know, it's all they've known. They've never known anything different. And it's until you teach someone a different idea or you teach someone different that they learn different. By educating people, that's how we're going to break through. Not by calling people homophobic. Not by telling people that they're bigots. And when it gets to a certain point, like Westboro, they're bigots. That's different. That's totally different. When it gets to the point where they know, like they're aware, and they choose to be a bigot, that's different. But when someone like me, a kid, I was 12 years old, I was just doing what I've been told. I was saying what I was told was the right thing to say, was the right thing to believe. I go to a Christian school now. And a lot of people there don't feel like they can identify with me. And as a result, I'm outcasted. I'm also an outcast in my family on my mom's side, because along with the other 3 that don't believe. But my whole philosophy is that if we can put aside that one difference of whether or not we believe in higher power or what higher power we do or do not believe in, our eyes can open and we can all realize that we are all human. We all shed the same color of blood. We all cry the same formula of tear. Does that make any sense? We all make mistakes. And we can relate more than we think we can. I love my family to death. I would do anything for them. I just happen to be different, So if anything, coming from a religious family has taught me tolerance. Because I know that without God, my mom would be a mess. She would be a wreck. She's told me numerous times that without her faith, she'd be a murderer, or she'd be a prostitute, or she would just be up in a lot of things that she's not. And if that's what keeps her sane, I'm all for it. I feel like this whole video is me talking about religion. But, it's about where I come from. And I happen to come from a really religious family. One side. My dad's not really anymore. He kind of had the same thing as me happen to him. Where his parents told him, this is right, this is right, this is right. And he just like, whoa, man. And now he's like my biggest supporter. My stepmom's getting there. My mom tolerates it. She still loves me. This is a hot mess, but that's where I come from. I'm also German, if that makes any difference. Alright, bye.